Hey, everybody. All right. Y'all are here. I'll give you a couple minutes to come on in. Finally, the night has come, right? Y'all been waiting like I've been waiting for this conversation. Safe spaces. Let's mute that. So we are just about ready to get started. Go ahead and share this out if you would. I want to go ahead and read a little bit about our guest tonight. So while you're sharing, I'm going to pull up my guest, a little bit of information about him. So some of you have been telling me that you know my guest tonight and you're excited about him coming. Some of you call him bruh. And he's one of the bruhs. Some of you all call him Colonel. Some of you all call him friend. There's just so many different names. So many different names. I don't the TikTok superstar. I've heard it all. I've definitely heard it all. He's definitely become TikTok famous, and I don't think I even knew who I was interviewing, to be honest, until I got so many text messages and phone calls about this guest. But you know what? I'm reminded of a scripture that says, "Your gifts will make room for you, and it'll sit you in places of great men," and I always say, and women. So here I am sitting with greatness tonight. So I could not be more excited than to have the opportunity to welcome our first Muslim chaplain of the U.S. Army to the Relationships on the podcast. Who'd have thought that I would have this opportunity? I have been speaking with him earlier, and I told him, about my introduction to him by way of others that were sending me messages. And so we giggled about it because I don't think I really knew who he was. So I'm just going to read a little bit about my special guest. He's the first Muslim chaplain in the U.S. military to reach the rank of colonel. He is 6'4" former college football player. They say he's built like a brick house. That is hilarious. And he has become a TikTok micro celebrity. But more than that, I saw one of his many videos on social media. And this man was talking about his personal journey with overcoming trauma and healing and his faith. And he spoke with such conviction that who am I? I reached right out and say, "You have not because you asked not," and I invited him to the show. And I told him why. He was speaking my language, a language about really overcoming childhood traumas and how it shows up throughout your life. And then you just got to get a grip on it. You got to take your life back, take agency over your life. And I don't know what to expect other than an amazing conversation. And I'm hoping that something is said here that will help to heal and to reveal things to those that are listening, to those that are watching. And I just hope you have a great time listening in and join us. I share the link so that you all can join us. You can come into the Zoom. I never do that when it comes to interviewing individuals that I don't have a personal relationship with. But because everyone was talking about him, I had to invite, social media. So if you saw the advertisement, you saw the marketing, you saw the flyer, click the link, join us. So let me go get him. He's here. So let me get back to my Zoom and welcome my new friend, Dr. Khallid Shabazz.
Hello again. Thank you for
Hello.
thank you for reaching out. I'm so happy. I'm always happy to be among the people, to be able to talk to the people, and to be able to share my story and hopes for healing and hope for a deeper conversation. So thank you for having me.
Look, I don't think I had a choice at this point, right? I couldn't back out of this if I wanted. I mean, listen, sir, please tell me what I should call you, because there's a whole lot of names here. So
you can call me Chaplain. You can call me Khallid. It's fine. I
okay.
have a lot of I have a lot of titles, but it'd be fine. You call me Khallid. Uh, yeah, I chose that name. Khallid in Arabic means one whose ideas live forever. So I chose that name after my conversion. But yeah, we'll get into
Okay.
that.
Yeah, I definitely want to. And yeah, I mean, when I tell you there's so many names that people, I mean, but many of them really see you as a healer, as a man that is speaking a word of healing. And I was like, okay, yeah, we got to have him here, because I want to get into this, and I want a little bit of that to rub off on me. You know, healing to me, healing is a journey. It's a lifetime journey,
That's
right?
right.
So so I'm
That's right.
here to learn like everyone else that's here. But tell us a bit about who you are
Okay.
out there.
And I begin the story I'm gonna tell you. I started to tell this story at 41 years old by accident. I kind of said it, and then after it was at a promotion ceremony because I was in so much pain.
Yeah.
Uh, a guy came to my office who was kind of similar in age, and he hugged me and he cried. He said, "What gave you the courage to tell that story?" And I said, "What story?" And so from that day, at 42, 41 to now 54 years old, I've been telling this story of my life. And so I'll start off here. My story begins at 10 years old, being molested by a family friend.
Mm.
Because of that molestation, it sent me into a tailspin. I couldn't understand why I was being molested, and my parent was in the next room. My sisters was in the next room. How did I get in this predicament? So I went inside of myself. I was in special education in the 8th grade, failed the 9th grade, failed the 10th grade. And just when I thought I was healing a little bit, I failed the 12th grade. So I didn't get to walk with my high school class because, as you said in the beginning, this God gave me this huge body, all right? And so because of this body, I got to go to school to play sports, and I was very good at sports. But what they call me prime time actually. But what people didn't understand was I was drinking myself to sleep at night because of the pain. And the pain was I didn't know whether I was a man or a woman. Right? I grew up in the house with 4 women, and then all of my aunts were women. I didn't have any uncles. And so anytime somebody would look at me for more than 3 seconds, sister, I would beat the hell out of them because I wanted them to know that I was a man. That was the only way that I could prove it. And so all of that came to a head one night. People were tired of me bullying them, and some guys jumped me, shot me in the back, beat me with a shovel, where I almost lost my life at 21 years old. And so they airlifted me out to Tyler Medical Center, where they saved my life. And you would think that after that time, a person would come to his senses. Well, 6 months later, the guy came back to campus. And this is the importance of having good friends. My friends saw the guy on campus, and as dysfunctional as friends could be, they gave me a 45 and a sawed-off shotgun. And they told me to eliminate him. All right. And so at that point, I was going to eliminate this kid. It's going to get tough for me here. So it's always somebody in your path that says something to jar you, right? And I've always had a great love for my mom. That's why I always put a son never forgets on my post. And he said, if you kill that guy, you're going to disappoint your mom, right?
Mm.
And so I didn't kill that young man that night. And as a saving grace as that was, he still was dysfunctional. He said, "Why don't you get your crowbar out your car and beat the hell out of him?" So that's what I did. I beat the hell out of the kid, and I went to jail that night. I was expelled from school, and I had to go back to Louisiana, where I was a janitor slash cashier. Well, at that time, you're still doing dysfunctional stuff. So
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
wife, my girlfriend at the time got pregnant. So I was in Kmart. This is crazy. As much trouble as I've been in, and I've been to jail before, my kid was being born, sister, and I was stealing clothes out of Kmart to give him clothes, right?
Yeah.
Insane, right? You switch the tags to give him clothes. Anyway, so I said, I got to stop this because I'm still in deviant behavior. So I came in the Army. I still hadn't dealt with the molestation, still was drinking, still didn't know how to deal with authority. And so in the Army, they have what you call non-judicial punishment. So I got 2 Article 15s and I was being thrown out of the Army within 1 year. And so check this out. I was an hour away from suicide. Since I was a horrible father, an even worse husband, I said, these people would be better without me. But, again, God always sends somebody at least to speak to you. Now, it's on you if you're going to listen. So I listened to this guy, and he told me something that I treasure today. I was 28 years old, had never heard this in my life from a man.
Mm-hmm.
I believe in you.
Wow.
4 simple words that absolutely transform my life, right? He took me into his office. I was crying. He said, hold your head up. You are not your poor self-esteem. You are not your poor self-worth. He made me look at the wall, and he had a statement up there I say in all my speeches. He says, most people die at 25, but they're not buried until they're 75. Whew!
Wow. Wow.
Transformative. And he explained that most of us buy into this false narrative of limitations. And we just go on with other people's reality, and we're waiting until we're 75 for somebody to throw the dirt on our face. And so I took that statement, I took his love and his advice, and I said to myself, I want you to hear this, and your audience to hear this very carefully. It took me 25 years to mess up my life. I said, I'm going to dedicate the next 25 years to transform my life. And I have been in school for 25 straight years, 2 doctorates, 4 master's degrees, and graduate from the War College. So 2 things I wanted to happen. I wanted to give my wife a man she could be proud of and love. And I wanted to give my children a man that they could respect and not let them have a life that they would have to recover from.
Wow.
I'm going to say that again. I wanted to give my wife a man that she could love, my children a man that they can respect, and I wanted to give them a life that they didn't have to recover from. That is my story. It is a story of transformation. It's a story of dedication. It's a story of sacrificing my life for those people who depended on me.
Wow. You said a mouthful. The last part did it for me, though. Give your family, your kids, a life that they do not have to recover from.
That's right.
That's huge, sir. That is
That's right.
huge.
Thank you.
So, there's so much I want to dig in and I want to ask and talk to you about just so much. But I want to start when you mentioned the words that a mentor, someone along your path came and said to you. How important
Yes.
is it, I think, for, and I'm going to be very specific in this conversation tonight. I am
Please.
holding up Black
Please.
men, not because I don't think any other race deserves to be held up, but I'm intentionally holding up and centering Black men because I do believe that Black men need safe spaces to have these conversations, and to talk and to be seen and heard and not and less judged. But how important is it for Black men and, of course, you to have heard that I believe in you?
Well, it was transformative. I've heard people tell me how good I was in sports. I've heard all my life that, man, you're gonna go to the NBA, the NFL, because that's what our community dysfunctionally promotes, right? But nobody promotes intellectual stimulation and cognitive ability. And so for him to tell me outside of a basketball court that he believed in me, I had never, that was almost like going to Mars. That was almost like something from other than this world. I didn't know men. I seen a lot of boys masquerading as men on the basketball court, coming home cheating on their wife and getting drunk and saying that they were men. I never heard a man tell me something like that. It hits different from a successful man to tell I was a boy, even though I was 28 years old, to tell another man, I believe in you.
Mm.
It changed my whole mindset. And I dedicated myself to myself and the upliftment of human beings because of that man. And so now I dream for people who are too afraid to dream for themselves.
Mm-hmm. So, thank you so much for sharing that. And I hope those that are listening, again, I always want people to get something from conversations that I host here at the Relationship Zone. Get something that changes their lives, something that impacts their life. Sometimes offering a different perspective, right? Bringing healing to the center of every conversation, right? In our growth process. And so with that being said, my question to you is, you dedicated 25 more years. That's what you said, like I'm dedicating the next 25. So during that time, when did you know that healing was necessary for you and what it was going to take? Healing is tough for a lot of people. So can you share a little bit about that with us?
Well, I didn't know what it was going to take. I was just willing to make the sacrifice to do it. I needed to, in myself, first of all, learn how to heal myself. And by telling my story, it became therapeutic for me. Okay. And so every time I told a story, it was another Black man hugging me and crying, saying, "Oh my God, what gave you the courage to say that?" And so for me, and by the way, this internet sensation thing gets me in a lot of trouble with my leadership, by the way,
Wow.
because a man of my stature, a man of my rank, a man of my pedigree shouldn't be on the internet acting, so-called, as they say, acting the way I'm acting. But it goes into the conversation of what you're saying. There's no safe space for us. If we talk about our education, we're arrogant. If we're too comfortable with ourselves, we're narcissistic. And we dare not share our feelings, because then all of a sudden, we're maybe acting a little feminine. So for me, coming on the internet was a strategic imperative for me. I need to show that we can be educated. I need to show that we can be confident. I needed to show that we can take that all of those things holistically. We don't have to be somebody other than we are, right? And so for me, I had to develop a philosophy of how I was going to lead my life, right? And so I developed what is called the 4 I's. Your guests probably should write these down, because we go into these companies, they have mission statements, they have philosophies, they have ways ahead. So I developed what we call the 4 I's. 4 I's alphabetically, and 4 I's that I can see from, right? Interdict mediocrity, intercept ignorance, infuse excellence, and my favorite one, influenced by many, defined by none. I'm going to say those again. Interdict mediocrity, intercept ignorance, infuse excellence, and influenced by many, defined by none. And let me explain them. Interdict mediocrity. I will do everything to the best of my ability. I will not settle for anything mediocre. I may not be the first, but I will not fail. That's what I mean by interdict mediocrity. Intercept ignorance. Huge in our culture. When I tell people I'm going to do something, when I tell people that I want to accomplish something, when I don't let people speak into my life. You know, you have friends that say, "I'm your friend, I'm just going to tell you the truth." But you don't get to speak into my life, because you get to speak limitations into my life, because you can't even control your own life. So I intercept that ignorance. You can't tell me what I can't do because you don't know where I'm going to end up and you don't know my real ability. Okay. And so I intercept any type of ignorance when somebody tells me that I can't do something. And coincidentally, 3 of my closest friends told me that I should get out of the military because the military wasn't for me.
Wow.
Now I'm the highest ranking Muslim chaplain in the history of the United States. But anyway, that you got to intercept that type of ignorance, right? Infuse excellence. I have ADHD. Me and you can get in the same class. You can read the book, get an A. It's going to take me 4 or 5 hours. I'm still going to get a C. But I'm going to infuse my excellence. It's comparative. When you compare yourself to people, that's an illness, right? That's where insecurities come from. I need to infuse my own type of excellence. Lastly, if I'm around you enough, whoever I'm around, I'm going to take little things from you of excellence, right? So I'll be influenced by many, but none of you can do it like I do it. I gotta put my own stamp on it. The problem with human beings is going back to being comparative. We try to be other people and we fail. I can't be Martin Luther King. I can't be Malcolm X. Now, Malcolm X was a role model of mine. And somebody asked me a question in a podcast, sister. They said, you patterned your life after Malcolm X. Would he be happy that you're in the military? Excuse my language. I said, I don't give a damn whether he's happy or not.
Yeah.
Influenced by many, defined by none. I'm not Malcolm X. I'm Khallid Shabazz, and that's how I govern my life. Thank you.
Good for you. He just wrapped up his TED Talk, y'all. I really love those 4 eyes, and I do hope that the listeners and the viewers actually took the time to write that down. That was amazing. That was amazing. So I want to pivot, keep on moving because I know we have a lot to get into. We mentioned the safe spaces, the importance of them. Tell me, please share, why is it so important for us to create safe spaces for Black men, and how do we create those spaces?
Well, first of all, we're 430 years behind the race, okay? And so those spaces have not been created for us. Only thing that's been created in my mind is a lot of fear and dysfunction, dilapidation, and degradation. So if we don't have the courage to create those safe spaces, it'll be another 430 years, right? Secondly, thirdly, we have to have the courage to think, right? So I have a young son. I have 2 daughters as well, but I have a young son. And so in every other community, they have what's called rites of passages, right? And so me and my friends were sitting around talking one day, and they was talking about, oh, this community got this rites of passage, this community got this community got that. And I'm sitting there, I'm thinking to myself, one of my 4 eyes, I got to intercept this ignorance. I'm thinking to myself, we are grown men in fraternities. The fraternities have rituals to get us to the other side. So I said to myself, I'm going to intercept this ignorance. I'm going to create my son a rites of passage ceremony out of my own mind, out of some of the influences we have around. So I created him a rites of passage ceremony, brought his 2 grandfathers in. My wife sung the Black National Anthem, and we took him through 4 stations: youth, wisdom, manhood, and old age. And all of those people gave him some gifts and said some wisdom to him. My wife sung the Black National Anthem, and then we took him from that crowd and put him over with the men. To answer your question, sister, it is up to us to create those safe spaces for ourselves. In my humble opinion, we depend too much on others to create those spaces for us. Therefore, to me, we are still children cognitively. I have a saying, most of us are playing PlayStations while other people are building space stations. We are an agent to our own suicide.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. the rites of passage, I have talked about this for years. I have a 24, almost 25-year-old son. When he turned 16, I think he was turning 16 or 15. I think it was 16. I held an event, did exactly what you're saying. I felt that all these other cultures have a rites of passage for our children, for their children, shall I say. And I did the same thing for him. I think it's important that
Yes,
we create the things that we see that's missing.
absolutely.
We see these things to be beneficial for other cultures, or even just our own, intuition tells us we
Abs-
need certain things. So
Absolutely.
we should create it. So I salute you for creating that. And I really wish more of us would do that for our children. Like really, create these opportunities so wisdom can be poured into our children. They can be presented before them. And I, personally got elders, got all the men that I knew that knew him and were positive, and those that I looked at as, yeah, I would love for that person to pour into my son. And I asked them all to come to this function, and they
Yeah,
they surrounded him and poured right into him.
and that took courage. Probably in your mind it was necessary. Yes, it was, but it also took courage because it's got people around you who are fighting that idea. I always like to give a salute out to my wife, man. She never fought it. She never even grimaced.
Wow.
Right? She never said why.
Yeah.
Right? My lady just followed my lead. Right? She probably in her mind could have thought a lot of things, but she allowed me in that moment to be a man to do that for my son. Right? That's important too, because sometimes you need a co-creator, that a person that's not going to tear down the idea that's foreign. That's a foreign idea, right? In our culture. Why are you doing that for him? I mean, that don't make no sense. That in itself, when you're living in dysfunction and you dealing with another person in dysfunction, then you can't even go forward because it's all ignorance, right? And so that's important. And so even if you don't have a mate, you need to have a mate that is congruent in your idea to get to the next level.
Mm, 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 mm. See, that's a whole word right there, talking about the mates. We're gonna get into that too, because I've seen some things
Yeah,
that you've posted
absolutely.
that challenges thought, and
Yeah,
I believe that we got to jump into that.
that's all of it.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So I want to back up a little bit, because I do want to get back into you know, the courage that it took and has taken for you to repeatedly tell your story.
Yeah,
Um, and my understanding is the first time you shared this story aloud on the stage, it was really just part of, your whole entire speech. It really wasn't, I don't know if you thought it would land, or if it would hit and would touch that individual that walked up to you and was crying, or
no,
even if you really realized the power that it held. But once you did embrace the power that it held, um, how have you, I want to say, really addressed the story, like the act, the journey, like your childhood, everything that you've gone through? How did
yeah.
you go back and really address that?
Well, first thing, no, I didn't know the power. I didn't know the impact at the time. I just made major, um, and I was probably super. It was probably the first time I had been sad since I was thinking about suicide. But it was the day of my promotion, and I was really sad because I was an officer in the Army, but I was trying to be like all the other officers. And it was sad because I was mimicking behavior that wasn't mine, right? This is a psychological psychosis of the imposter syndrome. I'm trying to be something that I'm not. And so I'm so sad, even though I'm getting this promotion. It's a great promotion. All my friends are there. And I'm crying. And I'm talking about, I'm linking it to my childhood because I never knew who I was, and I was molested and I failed all the time. So I just mimicked people until I, became successful, right? And so that day I decided I'm not doing that no more. I'm going to tell my story. I told the story, and that's when that guy came back, and we just cried there for about a firm 5 to 6 minutes, holding another man in my arm, crying. Right? That's in itself transcendent, right? And then I had to go play basketball, or I have my super masculine Q dog friends with me, right? And one-on-one, they would say, "Hey, man, you know, I'm having some issues. You the chaplain." And I would tell them that story, and just over and over, people are crying like grown men. And I began to realize the power in that story. Two things that are important. First of all, I'm a man that's telling it, and then I'm a man's man, right? Big, huge, masculine dude telling that story, so they feel safe because I'm telling it, right?
Yeah.
And then I tell you, I put it on the internet, and it got like 76 million views.
Wow.
It went viral like crazy, right? Not just the story of the trauma, but the achievement on top of the trauma. So I can tell you, I'm constantly being healed. I just told a story last night at the Pentagon.
Yeah.
And so 75-year-old man walks over to me, and he says, "I need you to talk to my wife." Now she's around 70 years old. He said our kid got molested, and she can't get over it for the last 15 years. She feels like it's her fault. So even though they're 75 years old, and I'm telling this story in front of very important people, ambassadors, emissaries, and it just hits home with everybody. This guy walks up to me, Caucasian American, and he said, "Man, your story is me. I want to tell it. I don't have the courage. I've been dealing with addiction for the last 15 years. Your story just freed me." And with the Defense Language Institute. I'm hugging this Caucasian American, and we're crying together. Isn't that amazing?
Amazing.
Oh,
It's amazing. It's amazing. It's amazing. I heard your story, so many different pieces of it, but I knew that it took a lot to repeat this story and to really dig into the story, and then to carry the weight of the others that you're healing with your story.
yes.
I knew it for a few reasons. One, I am a survivor of childhood sexual abuse and trauma. And when we tell our stories and we begin to disclose how close the perpetrator was to the family, oftentimes it makes the family uncomfortable.
That's right.
And I think a lot of people don't share because they're scared of hurting the family members. You know, they're going to make them comfortable when they tell their truth. That's one reason, of course. And of course,
Isn't that amazing? You could get hurt by family, and we're afraid of hurting them.
And we're afraid of hurting them.
Yes.
But I also was in a relationship many years ago with a male that was a survivor or victim. You know, he was a victim at the time of sexual assault from another male, and it kept showing up in our relationship. And
Of course.
oh yeah, and I challenged him in his healing. At that time, I was young, and I didn't, I was dealing with my own trauma, dealing with my own, confronting, those that wrongfully, mishandled me, right? And I was trying to force him to confront it, and he wasn't ready to confront it.
No. Yeah.
He too was dealing with addiction, and he was dealing with putting on, a mask and pretending, and it just kept bubbling up in our relationship, and we could not recover from it. But I always knew that it had to have been so hurtful to him that he could not embrace and be as courageous as you are, because I know he wanted to, but there are some things that just keep us from that part of the healing journey. Shame, guilt, all these things. We're just so afraid. And then the memories of it all.
Yeah.
The memories of it all. There's that part. So my heart did go out to you. I totally understood that piece of it, just from my own perspective. But the courage that I saw in you and the conviction and the comments on some of your posts, I was like, wow, he is healing a nation. I don't know if he realized it, but he is healing a nation of individuals that have gone through this and they're too afraid to speak up.
Yeah, I don't particularly realize. I just, I have a slogan: inspire until I expire. I like to go back to that, the relationship piece. I could tell you, and I invited my wife on. She was probably doing something, but
Okay.
I can't think for the life of me why that woman is there. I mean, because you're talking about your mate, man. Mine showed up in some severe insecurity,
Mm,
severe control issues, some severe like psychosis, in the sense where if I would see her talking to a guy, I just knew he was more man than me because I got
mm,
molested, right? And so the jealousy just got to be way over the top. And I think sometimes the deployments and me going away in the military helped our relationship to survive. And this
yeah.
is the part that I get to tell men, because there's no safe hiding place.
Mm,
I'm not going to put on some cloak, holy cloak, and say, I made this without, staying. Man, I tell you, I mean, if I were that woman, I would have left.
mhm,
It had to be overwhelming, you know,
mhm.
because when you're dealing with that type of dysfunction, only time and studying yourself can heal that. And so even now at 54 years old, I got to talk myself out of that dysfunction. Even if
Yeah,
I see my lady with somebody now, I say, hey, 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 calm that shiznick down. You're
yeah,
good. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
And so that's why I go out and do the things that I do, because I know we need it. We're hiding. We are in a constant state of dysfunction, especially men. Men don't talk. Men don't share their feelings, and when they share their feelings to their male friends, without equivocation, 100% of the time we're mocked.
mm,
100% of the time. So all of the male friends that I have in my life, when they come into my life, you would be surprised, and most of them don't stay. I said, hey, listen, if you want to be in my life, two things got to happen. Do not compete with me, and do not mock me, because I don't deal with either one. Because people like to tell little funnies and jokes, and there's a lot of truth in those jokes, and they're trying to be snide and put you down, right? And so I don't deal with either one. I give them a warning, and then the second time I let them go.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I hope y'all understand that, because I get it. I get that. I get that. I do. One thing I want to jump back to where you was talking about comparison, it brought to mind, I just posted, and I tend to post it every so many months, that comparison is the thief of joy. It
Yes.
really, really is. So when I heard you speak about comparison earlier, I just want to make sure I put that out there for people, and why comparing yourself and comparing yourself to others and all these, and even, sizing yourself up to the things that's happened to you, it will rob you of your joy. And so you brought that up a couple of times. So I wanted to make sure that those that are listening, that this drops into their spirit too. Like, if you're out there comparing yourself, don't do it. Don't do it.
No, you
Don't do it.
can't. I was on a podcast, and this will be funny to you, but the guy said, he was a soldier. He said, Chap, I don't want to ask you this, but I have to, because it's just been on my mind. You told me you was gonna come on my show. He said, man, you're 6'4", you got all these degrees, you've been extremely successful in the military. He said, what about the ladies? Right?
Yeah.
I said, the ladies come, and this is going back to the comparative thing here. So a
Yeah.
lady walks in the office, and she says, hey, Chap, I need to talk to you. And it happens quite frequently, but she says, I read your bio, and I went home and told my husband he needs to step up his game. And I
Mm,
said, say, sister, please, unacceptable. I said, unacceptable. You just emasculated that man. You don't know the trauma that it took to get those degrees. You don't know. I have a joke that my wife don't like me and my kids don't know me because sometimes I was absent getting those degrees and being in the military. I said, you shouldn't put that on that man, right? She shouldn't do that because that's not fair. That's not fair. And so when I see this guy now, he looking at me cross-eyed.
Wow.
The second thing is when women want me to counsel their husbands, right? I say to them very succinctly, I say, sister, you can play like you saw some stuff on the internet and ask your husband to look at the video, and I hope he's inspired, and then I'll talk to him. If you go home and tell him, oh my God, this guy's amazing, come, I want to go to counseling with him. You can't do that to men because they're going to automatically start comparing themselves. He's going to think he's lesser. You guys going to be in that off. You're ruining things. Men are very fragile.
Oh, it is so
Oh yeah, we're like petulant adolescents. I don't like to say children. We're like adolescents in that sense because you guys have so much power once we love you, right? Once we love you, it's nothing we won't do for you. We'll run in front of a car. I got 9 degrees. If my wife tells me, oh my God, when you take out the trash, I just love you. I feel like I just won the lottery. But when we love you, it's nothing we won't do for you. So my point to that is when you go home and tell your mate about this other amazing guy, you're really doing yourself a disservice.
You know, that must have been for me because you know, it's difficult. Like full transparency, sometimes it's difficult as a podcaster for me to share with any partner that I'm interviewing amazing people, right?
Yeah. Yes.
I would believe that they feel some type of way because honestly, I do have the opportunity to interview amazing people.
Yeah.
And but I also think that any partner that I choose to be with is amazing in their own right as well, right?
Yeah.
But I have seen that ego show up. And honestly, when if you're connected to the wrong person, they will never be able to recover from it. Like they'll never be able to recover. But there are others that you can learn how to kind of talk with and and build and see that this is a partnership and it's not a competition, right? It's not a competition. It's truly partnership. So I do want to, and that's likely to me. I don't, obviously I don't know your wife, but I would believe that you all have begun to master more of a partnership versus competition outside.
Well, yeah, because if my wife is intuitive enough to know that that's inside of all men, she has to counterbalance that with telling me I'm amazing.
Oh yeah.
Enough. So when I see somebody else that's amazing, I say, okay, well, he's amazing too. Right? But if the conversation is just he's amazing, he's amazing, he's amazing, and in the last year, I'm just the guy that won't take out the trash. Ooh. You got some, right?
Yes.
You got to counterbalance that. And because if you're just the guy that's constantly being told what he's not doing, and then your lady sees somebody who's absolutely amazing, oh, no, you're doing yourself a disservice. We're not built like that. Men are inherently, they don't want to admit it, always in competition with the other guy. Because we don't want our ladies' eyes to turn to the strong male.
Ooh, ladies, are y'all listening to this? Because this got real good, right? We moved straight into relationship talk. This got real, real, real good. Again, I've seen some of your posts. I've seen those TikToks. So I know you do talk about relationships. So this is some good stuff, sir. I really love this. So with that being said, one of the brothers that I'm sure you know him because I know he was on one of the many posts that I put up about you. But one of my brothers, Jackson Drumgool, he's always said that his wife, he told me this some years ago, his wife was a soft place for him to land. And that hit so strongly. At the time, I didn't want to be married. I was like, I'm good with a relationship. I'm kind of on a different journey now. You know, I'm more open to remarriage and open to relationships and things like that. And so that has always stayed with me since he said that to me, the importance of having a safe and soft place to land. So can you tell me a little bit about how you feel about that? And what do you think about having soft?
That's 1000% true. I got to fight the enemy all day. And the enemy is stereotypes. The enemy is me having the esteem to even speak up in a meeting when I'm the only African-American male there, right? All the intersectionality that goes on in there, me feeling not worthy all day because these people are so brilliant. I mean, I think one day we were talking about something. I had no idea what was going on, right? And if I got to come home and then my mate, the only person who I think that cares about me in the world, when I walk through that door, I get a 15 hellfire missiles of what I'm not doing right.
Wow.
Then I'll be there, right? And so what ladies, in my opinion, don't understand, it's why you have so many sneaky links, side pieces, and whatever you want to call them, because she doesn't have to deal with you on a daily basis, and that's a soft place to land. So what men need sometimes, most time, is just cooperation. I don't need you to solve my problems. I don't need you to tell me that I'm not right. I'm telling you about my day. Sometimes I just need you to say, it's gonna be okay, baby. It's gonna be okay. You know, I was talking to my wife the other day about this speaker. And I thought he was amazing, right? And she said, like you're not an amazing speaker. All the inhibitions went down.
Wow.
It didn't have to be a long paragraph. Like you're not an amazing speaker. Soft place to land. Right? And for men, that place is heaven. It's heaven. Because men are competing with me. My job is competing with me. Everybody's competing with me. I need you to complete me. And that means if you're going to complete me, listen to me carefully now. Sometimes even when you disagree to yourself. Yeah, it's a fact.
Now, you know, sir, that's hard for a lot of us to do, right? It's hard for a lot of us to swallow our last word, swallow that ego, swallow that pride.
Yeah.
Oftentimes we have to be right. Listen, here at the Relationship Zone, I talk to women all the time. I'm taking this whole month talking to men. And and so I'm speaking from a woman's point of view. I know how we can be. So, I grew up. That being said, understanding that is how we help to create these soft places for men to land, for our men to land. Why is it so hard? Why is it so hard for us? Why is it so hard for couples to get that balance and understand why that's important?
Well, this may be a little controversial, but you guys grew up as men and we grew up as women. Okay. And what I mean by that is my mom allowed me to play sports. She kept me safe, and I think it was a condoning, a tool of slavery. She didn't want me to be too smart, too strong, too arrogant, because back in slavery times, that guy would get killed. And so even if I brung a C in the house, she said, "Oh, that's my baby. Good job." My sisters brung a C in the house, they get a whooping. They were made to cook, they were made to clean, they were made to be hard and stand up for themselves, not me. I
Mm,
was made a woman,
mm.
not a pejorative term, but I was made a woman. So when I go into my relationship, listen to me carefully. I'm 23 years old, getting married. I'm calling home from Germany for my mom to pay my bills. My wife said, "What the hell is this?" Because she had married a woman, a boy,
Mhm.
because I didn't have my father there. He didn't teach me how to be a man. So now, in my opinion, you guys are more intuitive, right? You're more mature, and now you're in relationships with men, in my opinion, just my opinion, where you're more man than me. And so if you don't have the trust and confidence to let me fail, lead and fail, you'll never be happy in your relationship.
Mm, 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 mm.
My wife let me lead and fail. All this stuff that you see now, I can't think of a time where she told me, "Oh, you need to spend more time at home. Oh, you need to stop going to school. Oh, you need to stop doing this and do that." I can't remember a time she said that.
Wow.
And she
Wow.
didn't have to say whether she supported it or not. She probably didn't, because I was just trying to heal. But she allowed me that time to heal, because what was she gonna do? Like, just beat me up? I was already no good to her. I mean, honestly.
Mm, 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 mm.
So she allowed me that time to heal, and this is the product that she got.
Well, I commend her because I do know a lot of us women may not be as patient, right? And I'm going to use this loosely, when some men lead us into failure, right? And I think for the very reason that you
That's right.
just spoke, women, many women um, grew up differently. We took on all these responsible roles. We had responsibility. We knew how to pay bills. We knew how to cook. We knew how to go out there and get a job. We knew how to deal with men, how to deal with women, how to all these things, still knowing how to maintain a home, how to take the initiative. We grew
Yeah.
up knowing these things while our brothers, out playing and hanging out with the boys, and those
That's right.
boys, those boys we marry, and they still want to do the exact same thing. The one thing that some of those boys
That's
or
right.
men might have learned how to do
Absolutely.
is bring the paycheck home, but then they still go out and they want to still be irresponsible in every other area of their life. They may know how to get a job and be responsible on the job, to some extent, but still at home, there's something that's missing. So those women, I've heard them in circles, "I can do this by myself," right? So when I hear you speak about
Of
your
course.
wife,
Yeah.
that takes, again, it takes an amazingly strong and intentional woman to see the
Yeah.
failure,
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
still be like, I'm hanging in here. I'm hanging in here, and be patient. Because I've heard
Right.
so many women, they don't have the patience. And I'm not knocking any of them. Everybody has to
No,
take their own
they're
path.
entitled to their pain, and I'm
Yeah.
sure my wife has girlfriends that I'll never know, and she's telling them what an idiot this dude is, right? I'm sure. I mean, it's natural. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's natural. Yeah. So at that part of my life, I just let it be. But
Yeah.
yeah, I was fortunate. I mean, I caught her at 18 too,
Wow.
right? If I caught her at 28, I don't think I'd be married.
Absolutely.
You
Right.
see what I'm saying? So I
Yeah.
was I was 23, she's 18. That's a whole different set of circumstances. She was raised by her great grandmother, who
Oh,
taught her a whole different set of values, right?
yeah.
So I'm very fortunate, because when I look over the horizon, my friends have been married 2 or 3 times. When you look at that, you realize how fortunate you are,
Yeah.
right? And so I remember, and I tell you, this is, I'm a transparent person. So I think I got arrested that night. I was drunk, and I was trying to talk to some girl or somewhere, and I gave her the keys to my car or something. And so my girlfriend, who my wife now, we go to, that's that Q dog stuff, right? So
Oh yeah,
we
yeah,
go back
that.
to my place. We go back to my place, and I'm just throwing up everywhere. And when I wake up, this lady has a trash bag, and I'm throwing up in there. So I put a quote on the Facebook the other day. Every man is willing to change, but it's only one woman that he'll change for. In that moment,
Mm.
I knew that that was going to be my wife. It wasn't no sex. It wasn't no hanging out, cutie, cutie stuff. Everybody had left me, including my friends. But she sat there with that trash bag. I knew at that moment I was going to marry that lady.
Wow. Y'all go get your trash bag. All right.
But
Go get
you
them
see,
trash bags, ladies. I love it.
yeah, because you see, for men, it's about respect for us. It's not even about love. It's about somebody who respects us enough to uphold us in our worst times.
Yeah, 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 yeah. All right. So I have one other question before I go and open up the floor for those that are in the room. Quite a few people have joined us, and I want to open the floor for them. Um, but I've heard, I want to get this, and I definitely want you to come back because there's so much more I want to get into. But
Sure.
we've talked about what you needed in that relationship, the type of woman you needed. Obviously, life has taught you that this is the one for you. She has been amazing and supported
Yeah.
you. But share from a male's perspective, what do you feel that we women need from our Black men?
What you need from Black men?
Mhm.
Oh, I deal in a couple of things. Um, Black men, first of all, need to be responsible. Okay, so we got a lot of junk, we got a lot of dysfunction, and we got a lot of excuses. All right, so all of this stuff happened to us. That's fine, but we need to be responsible when we take on you guys as women. The bottom line is we got to be responsible for you. We got to take care of you in the way that you need to be taken care of, whatever that is, that still allows us to be ourselves. The second thing is we have to stop with this real man stuff. It drives me nuts, right? Because no woman or no man can define what a real man is. And so when you throw those terms out there haphazardly to say you're not a real man, or even among our friends, if we do something wrong, they say, you're not being a real man. First of all, we need to define what that is. A real man is being responsible. A real man is showing up every day, no matter what. Thirdly, we need restorative justice from you.
Mm.
I'm going to say that again. We need restorative justice. That means peace. When I come home, when I am dealing, like right now, I got to tell you, I got the whole world against my back. All those intersectionalities that you talk about. When I come home and when I'm talking to my mate, I just don't want you arguing with me. I don't want you dispelling my ideas. I don't want you being combative with me. I just want a soft place to land. The heaven is at the feet of the woman because you guys give birth to the world. Secondly, heaven is in the head of the woman because you bring peace of mind to us, right? And so if I got to come to you in my most ardent times and you are trying to prove to me how right you can be, you already wrong. You already wrong. Because at that moment, all I see in front of me is another male. No matter how beautiful you are, no matter what you think you can do for me, all I see is another male competing with me, and I want to destroy you.
Mm-hmm.
And so a woman, whatever that is, because I don't know what that is, a woman has to bring peace of mind to her mate. Restorative justice, I call it. And so sometimes, I know this is not PC, sometimes you just got to be quiet. Because on the other side of that, my wife could be talking about some stuff I 1000% disagree with. I say, okay, baby. Okay. Okay. She'll never know that I disagree with it. But we need that same compliment from you.
Mm. Yeah. Well, thank you.
Very well. Very well.
All right, so for those that are listening, I mean, you know, we've talked about a lot. Well, I'll teach and preach. This is what is coming up on my Facebook. The chap has spoken. Your bruh has spoken. The colonel has spoken. For those of you that are joining us tonight on the Zoom, if you have any questions or statements or anything you want to say, please unmute yourself and go for it. Mike, I see you are here. I didn't even get a chance to say your name before you came up in the room. Mike, you might as well come on the camera too, because you got that mute right off instantly.
Hey, good evening. So first and foremost, sir, thank you for all your great wisdoms and nuggets. More importantly, thank you for helping us to reunite, not only just as people, but as men, but also giving the cheat code, the contra cheat code to just being aware, more than not just only self-aware, but also allowing that authentic transparency. You made a statement earlier about code switching, and I really appreciate that, bringing that up and helping us to identify that a lot of people, they mimic behaviors, but when they finally become themselves, they've lost out on all the places and spaces where they could have really helped. And now there's really no trust. So, and thank you again for just being able to intersect those areas and give us all just that model of wisdom. So it's an honor and a blessing to serve with you. And thank you for always being there for me and the colleagues that I want to just reach out to you for. So just a compliment, no question, but thank you, sir.
No, I appreciate it. That's super important, and love you dearly, brother. And thank you for always reaching out, honestly, in your times of need. You know, one of the most important things in life is to understand that you have just as much to bring to the table as anybody else. And you have to trust your instincts, even though you may feel sometimes that you're not as smart, you don't have the background, or you don't have the wisdom. Your input is still enough. And I think a lot of times psychologically, we don't trust our instincts enough to be that person in the room that has a divergent opinion, because there might be consequences. So, Mike, I appreciate that.
Me too, Mike. Thank you so much for speaking up. If there's anyone else in the room that wants to offer a comment or compliment or question, please do not hesitate. I see you in here, so you might as well if you like. Sir, you spoke a lot tonight, and so much of it hit home for me. But of course, a lot of your content hits home for me. People see me as me, but I've battled with imposter syndrome. Yes. And for the very reason that you said, because I know my story. I know what I came from, and I know what I've gone through. I also know what I've survived, and I try my best to empower others to let them know that they too can overcome these things, right? They still can become successful. And you're talking about how you failed in grade school, in high school, and then you went on to get degree after degree after degree. And I mean, that is a
Right.
true testament in itself of what's possible. We are not,
That's
we
right.
are not what happened to us. I cannot say that enough. We are not what happened to us. That is a part of our story, but that is not the only part of our story. Like, that is just not all of it. And I think when I'm listening to
That's
you, like,
correct.
that is you. The epitome of that truth is that you're just,
That's
that's
right.
not your story, just the things that happened to you. You've definitely
Yeah, that's
inspired so many of us. So I say thank you.
yeah. Thank you very much. And you just you gotta trust yourself enough, even when you don't trust yourself, to bring your best self to the party.
Mm,
Because what you'll find is when you start talking to people, even those people you uphold as the status quo, they got a lot of junk too. You just don't see it. So when you come in with the lesser version of yourself, you're cheating them and you're cheating yourself, because when you come in with your full self, you giving a person's an opportunity to grow. Now I'm in a super highfalutin place and everybody's uptight and all of these super educated people, right? And so after I say something in this wonderful place, I say, "Whoa!" Right? And so if for me, and I've been doing this for years, it's strategic to let for two things, to let everybody know you don't have to be uptight. And second of all, I'm not afraid of anybody in here and I'm willing to deal with the consequences because this is who I am. That takes a lot of courage, right?
mhm.
But it also releases all of the fear and anxiety I have in myself of not thinking that I'm good enough.
Mm,
So I don't want people maybe to go around booing, right? But you still need to bring your authentic self to the party, right? When you do that, I got to tell you, man, it is liberating.
mhm.
It is 100% liberating because you understand just by bringing your true self to the party, you're allowing other people to be free as well.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Sir, before we wrap up, before we go, I would love to give you an opportunity to share two things. One being where those that are listening or viewing can find you. Um, and lastly, I would love for you to leave us all with a message or some words of wisdom.
Yes. You can find me on any internet site that's out there. I'm everywhere, whether from YouTube, TikTok, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, whatever it is, I'm on it because I want people to see me as the realm of possibility, right? Not me in particular, but me in particular with my story that I've been blessed with. Second of all, I want to give you a couple of quotes for everybody to take home. Until you change the way you look at things, the things that you look at will never change. Until you change the way you look at things, the things that you look at will never change. If you can't change the people around you, change the people around you. If you can't change the people around you, change the people around you. Lastly, you will never be an eagle hanging around chickens. It's the bottom line. Some people in this world understand that you have wings, but they'll convince you that you're a chicken and you should stay on the ground with them. Once you truly discover that you have wings, hence the name Shabazz, it means an eagle that flies above all eagles.
I love it. All right, sir. I would love for you to hang tight. I'm going to close out Facebook Live. And for those that are still in the room with us, you can hang tight too. Just for a second, I just want to close the Facebook Live out. And to Facebook, thank you so much for tuning in, for watching, for hanging with us. Share this content. There'll be more clips up. Just give it a couple of days and you'll be able to share. Please share this with someone that you know that needs to be inspired, needs to hear an amazing story. So thank you, Facebook, for tonight. And I want to say good night to you all. So you want to say good night to Facebook?
Yeah, good night, Facebook. Woo!